Majin Buu, a formidable foe in the Dragon Ball franchise, from the regular Majin Buu all the way over to Buuhan and everything in between. He was definitely a threat constantly going on. In fact, he managed to kill almost the entire Dragon Team before he was finally soundly defeated by the likes of Vegeta, Goku, and a little bit of help from Hercule as well. But what about a version of the story where there are several more people in the Dragon Team, from Raditz to Nappa, and even more than that? These people are even more powerful than their original counterparts. That's what we aim to continue to answer today with the continuation of the series, What If Raditz Fought Goku at Kame House? Before I continue this story, if you're new to this channel, please stop. Part 1 of the series is right over there. Go ahead and watch it and catch up, and I'll catch you when you get back. And if you are not new, or are just checking things out and haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do so. It helps the channel out immensely, and don't forget to leave a like. In our last part of the series, Golden Cooler had given the Dragon Team in the desert the slip and managed to escape from the clutches of Gohan and a very powerful version of Piccolo. Meanwhile, in the city, a massive battle took place between Raditz, Goku, and Vegeta against Super Buu. However, tragedy struck when Vegeta was absorbed by Majin Buu and turned into a very powerful foe indeed. All the while, Goku had instant transmission to the Lookout to save Hercule, and in that brief amount of time had decided that he was going to go ahead and teach Trunks and Goten the fusion dance in the time chamber. But with a more powerful version of Buu running amok, looking for a new fight, and nobody around him to do so, it's only a matter of time before he makes his way to the Lookout, where the only remaining power signatures are left. All of this is due to the fact that Kibito took both Piccolo and Gohan to the world of the Kais to give them training. Will Goku manage to teach them the fusion dance in time? Let's find out. On the Lookout, Shin felt it when Kibito took Gohan and Piccolo and left the planet Earth. He automatically assumed that they were going to the world of the Kais and decided that training them might be the best option, and he had to be there for it. So he took his leave, and the rest of the Dragon Team awaited Goku and the others in the time chamber. Dende peered over the Lookout with a saddened look on his face. He could feel the lives all around the planet Earth fading from existence, and he was called back to the memory of Nappa, one of the first victims of Majin Buu, and somebody that he had grown quite fond of. Even the laughter of Marin and Kini playing with a newly conscious raccoon couldn't brighten his mood. Raditz saw this and walked over to Dende, putting a hand on his shoulder. "Tiny Kame, try not to worry yourself. My brother will fix this. Think back to Namek and the things that he's accomplished. You know it as well as I do. This world is going to be fine. He will ensure it. We all will." Dende looked away from over the Lookout to see the Dragon Team members behind him. There were still several of them there. Very powerful beings, and a lot of which had come together thanks to the likes of Goku. He realized Raditz has a good point. Things do usually end up turning out perfectly fine for the planet Earth, and oftentimes, even if some of it is caused by Goku, it tends to end up just fine. So Dende concedes and walks away from the edge of the Lookout. "Hey, spiky hair man, you really think we're gonna make it out of this?" Raditz twirled around angrily to see who just said that to him. He saw Android 17 hovering in the air right above him. 17! I have a name, you know! And of course I think he can. I know he can! Alright, chill out, big guy. I was just wondering. I believe you. That Goku guy. Even I tried to kill him a while ago and I couldn't do it. I'm sure we're gonna be just fine. But, just to be safe, I figured I'd take a break from being a park ranger to come help out. You know, if you could use my help, that is. I'm sure you're so much stronger with your flashy Super Saiyan 2. I actually have Super Saiyan 3 now, so there's that. Oh, Super Saiyan 3! Ridiculous. Raditz was enraged, but before he could get another word in, 17 just kind of walked off towards 18 to catch up. Meanwhile, down in the cities, Majin Buu was wreaking havoc, and it didn't go unnoticed. There was a Dragon Team member that hadn't really made an appearance yet. It was Tien, and he decided that he was going to try and hold Buu off. The chaos had gotten so far and wide that even he could notice it visually, not necessarily even needing to sense that Buu was around, and he felt Vegeta's energy in him. He knew that things were getting really rough, so he decided to utilize his Tri-Beam and try to hold Buu at bay for as long as he possibly could. The rest of the Dragon team up the lookout noticed this immediately. They could tell Buu was being held off somehow, but who was doing it? They felt Tien's signature and decided they had to do something. Much as Tien did in the original series against Cell, he was putting him into a crater with Tri-Beam after Tri-Beam, making himself weaker with every single attack, but not letting up for even a second. Buu couldn't get a move in edgewise. He couldn't get out of that crater, but this wasn't something that Tien could hold on to forever. The rest of the Dragon team scrambled. They needed to act now in order to save Tien. They couldn't lose another person. Raditz gathered 17 and 18, and the three of them used instant transmission to get to the battlefield. Meanwhile, on the world of the Kais, Gohan and Piccolo were both wielding the Z-Sword. The two of them were able to wield it fairly with ease after a set amount of training had been completed. However, it inevitably broke, freeing an elderly Kai. Much like in the original series, he offered to give them ultimate, but Gohan was the only one to accept at the moment. Piccolo decided that a day might be too long, so he elected to continue training there for the time being until he was needed back on Earth, but Gohan would receive ultimate just as he did in the original series. If there were enough time, he might take up that ultimate offer as well, but for now, they were just going to see how things played out. In the time chamber, the fusion dance was taught to Trunks and Goten with relative ease, with Goku not frantically having to leave the world because he was still alive in this version of the story. He was able to take his time and calmly explain to them the entire process. They successfully learned how to do it, and Gotenks was born, with spare time to train in their eyes. They had no idea what was going on in the outside world, so they took to training, and they trained hard and fast. They didn't have a full year to do it, with 3 of them in the time chamber instead of 2. That being said, Goku quickly realized that Gotenks, as a fused unit, could utilize the Saiyan potential a lot better than the 2 of them alone. Quickly, Gotenks unlocked the likes of Super Saiyan 3, and he did it kind of laughably. It took Goku so long, years, decades to unlock potential like that, and they did it as mere children. This powerful fusion drove Goku to grow even stronger as well. Even though a Super Saiyan 3 state could only be maintained in a fusion for a little bit, it was definitely a heck of a sparring partner to go against. So, blissfully unaware of what was going on in the outside world, they decided to push the limits and stay there as long as they possibly could. It wouldn't be a full year, but the Dragon team on the outside had to play the waiting game for even longer than they would have liked. And the waiting game was turning out to be pretty painful. This version of Buu that had absorbed Vegeta was quite the powerhouse. But the fight wasn't horribly one-sided. Raditz was only in Super Saiyan 2, trying to conserve energy as best as he could, but Android 17 was surprisingly picking up a lot of the slack. It turned out he had been growing stronger over the years since the Android saga, and he was certainly able to put up even against maybe a Super Saiyan 3.
That Saiyan over there runs out of energy fairly easily. However, you seem to be like me, Majin Buu. I can tell you have unlimited energy. That being said, can you stand up to this?
Majin Buu fired a final flash right at Android 17, but when the smoke cleared, he realized 17 was not injured at all. He had a barrier up, and it protected him from the entire attack. Buu wasn't really angered by this though. Although he was failing to get a killing blow on any of them, none of them particularly had the upper hand on him, and so long as he wasn't getting his face kicked in repeatedly by somebody that just had immeasurable strength over him, he found it quite fun. Buu was looking for a challenge, and he was certainly getting one, and with that, it meant that the distraction could last for even longer. That being said, Vegeta being absorbed by Buu meant that Buu now had his intelligence and his battle prowess. His tactical advantage was pretty sound against the likes of people like 17 and 18, who were still not much more than street brawlers. Although 17 had grown very powerful and honed his skills quite a bit, 18 hadn't really improved herself too much. She had focused more on being a mother over this time, and so she was kind of the weak link at the moment. This was something that she figured after this battle she would certainly need to improve on, but the chance may not come, because when he got the opportunity, Buu finally turned her into candy first. He didn't really get to celebrate the victory because immediately 17 and Raditz were on him again. But the weak link had been exploited, and suddenly they were slowly going onto the back foot. However, the battle was halted when a familiar presence could be felt again. Goku had exited the time chamber with the children right behind him, and immediately he used instant transmission with them in tow to enter the battle. Buu had a smile on his face. That itch to battle Goku was just so strong. There was something about Vegeta inside of him. It almost compelled him. However, Goku kind of stepped back a little bit, and the two kids stepped forward. They began this ridiculous dance. Buu laughed at it. He had no idea what was going on. But then, something clicked in his head. He realized through some of Vegeta's memories that, oh no, it couldn't be that. But it was. Suddenly, a bright flash of light occurred and Gotenks entered the fight. He immediately went into Super Saiyan and started going after Buu. And Buu, thinking that this child wasn't going to be much at all, was sorely mistaken. He didn't immediately have an upper hand, but Buu was not able to just swat him away like a fly. Quickly, though, Gotenks realized he needed to amp up his game. He went into Super Saiyan 2, not 3, knowing that he needed to maintain it for a little bit longer. That way the fusion wouldn't end. You see, through this training with Goku, they had mastered the art of the fusion dance, knowing just how long they had with each form, and they realized that Super Saiyan 3 was when they needed a sudden killing blow. Eventually, the opportunity arose and Gotenks amped up the fight to Super Saiyan 3 and immediately started charging at Buu, expecting this to be a quick end. However, it wasn't. They didn't expect the fact that Buu had one last trick up his sleeve. You see, if you'll remember a while back, you'll notice that Vegeta, during his time on Yardrat, did not learn the technique of instant transmission. Deciding to go a different route from Goku, he decided to learn something separate. Spirit Fission, and he utilized it here. As Gotenks went in for a punch, Buu absolutely tanked it, taking it directly in his chest, but wrapping his body around him. He used Spirit Fission and pulled Gotenks apart, back into their base forms of Goten and Trunks. Surprised, they had no idea what was going on, and promptly they were absorbed. Goku, Raditz, and 17 stood there in shock. Now what are they going to do? They could obviously try to do the fusion dance again, but if Buu managed to land a solid hit, or they made physical contact at all, Spirit Fission could just pull them apart again. It didn't seem like a viable option. Over in the world of the Kais, Gohan and Piccolo knew what was going on. But Gohan's training hadn't been completed yet, and Piccolo realized that with Spirit Fission on the table, he was virtually useless in this battle as well. His power came from being fused as a Namekian, with other Namekians such as Caracol, Nail, and Kame back into himself. If any of them were pulled out of his body, he would be a fraction in power compared to his original. And that wouldn't do. He'd be useless. They needed to think of a different plan, but what could they possibly do? Piccolo turned to Gohan and gazed at his training. It seemed for now that was the only viable hope that they knew of, but that's where we're going to be leaving things for right now. Things are starting to move at a rapid pace in this story, and if you like rapid paces, check out this one where Trunks and Goten fused and ended up being quite OP through some time-traveling shenanigans. And I'll catch you in the next video. Bye!